Being a trucker means constant travel. Constant travel means constant change, and constant change means constant danger. This was something I had to accept when I took the job all those years ago. But back then, I thought that nothing would ever happen to me. There was no chance of me running into danger. I was completely invincible behind the wheel of my rig. But I was so wrong. I crossed the state border a while ago and my eyes were starting to get heavy. I hadn't seen anyone else on the road for miles, and I was getting bored of listening to talk show after talk show. Suddenly, the truck started slowing down. I put my foot down harder on the pedal, but it had no effect. I shook myself wide awake and sat up. My truck rolled a few more meters, then came to a halt. I just sat there for a minute confused, before I unclipped my belt and climbed out. I quickly came to the realization that I'd run out of fuel. I was pretty pissed at myself for not paying more attention and thinking about it. I did hear the warning beep some time ago. I was about to call my boss when I heard a voice from behind me. I spun around, holding my phone as a weapon. There was a man slowly approaching me. He looked to be in his early 40s with graying hair and a mustache. He seemed to be chewing a lump of tobacco and walking with a slight limp. "Looks like you ran out of gas," he croaked, still approaching me. I shrugged and told him that I was fine. I started to walk back towards my truck. "I got a place not so far from here where I could get you some fuel." I didn't believe him. Too many things didn't add up. Why was he out here, at this location, at this time, just as I broke down? I said I already had some in the back and didn't need any help. I got in and locked the doors. I just wanted this man to go away. I saw him walk off into the tree line and disappear. I called my boss and he sent someone out to tow me, but said that they might take some time. I ended up falling asleep where I sat, feeling much more secure with my doors locked and the man gone. I woke up some time later and realized that I was moving. I was confused at first, but then I remembered that someone had been sent to tow my truck. I wondered why they didn't wake me up, but maybe they tried. I am a deep sleeper and the doors were locked. I noticed that it was still dark outside and tried to work out where we were on the map. I couldn't see any signs on the road and had no clue where I was. I opened the window and shouted, asking the tower where we were going. Why hadn't he just taken me to the garage? After a while, we appeared to be on a very rural road, almost like we were driving through a forest. In the distance, there was a large barn we seemed to be heading towards. I couldn't get the attention of the tower, so I called my boss to see what was going on. He sounded extremely puzzled and said that the tower wasn't due to arrive at my location for another hour. I was losing it and shouted at my boss, "Then who the hell is towing me?" My boss called the police and told me to try to get out of the vehicle. I didn't need telling twice. I swung open my door and jumped out. I was winded and lay there for a moment. The tow truck then stopped. The tower must have heard the sound at the door. I got up immediately and ran. I had no clue where I was and chose a random direction. Looking over my shoulder, I saw him and immediately recognized his face. It was the man from earlier. He spat a mound of tobacco out of his mouth and jumped out of his truck. As I ran, I heard the noise of a gunshot ring out. Terrified, I hit the floor and crawled behind the nearest tree. The man was walking fast now and shouting for me to come out. He didn't see exactly where I went, but he probably had a pretty good idea. I managed to drag myself behind a log, breathing as quietly as I could. The man was getting closer, calling, "Turn yourself in and it'll be quick." I couldn't move anymore now. He would hear me. The man stopped right next to the log, looked around, and ran off in another direction. I breathed a sigh of relief and looked out. The man was about 100 meters away and looking right at me. I bolted for the truck and got underneath it with the sound of bullets slamming against the metal. I had nowhere to run and he was getting closer. Just as I thought it was all over, I heard the sound of sirens. The man swore and ran off into the woods. I climbed out from under the truck and met the officers that had arrived. 2 of them had already run off after the man. They asked me what had happened and took me back to the station for questioning. I answered all of their questions and told them about the barn I was being towed to. It was inspected and sealed off. When I asked what they found, I was told that it was best I didn't know. I can only imagine what would have happened to me if I had stayed in that truck. However, I do know one thing. That man is still on the loose, and I can only pity the poor soul who runs into him next.